So for Chapter 8, no, Chapter 8 na tayo kagad. We will be discussing the types of major accounts. If you will look at the book, actually types of major accounts is located in Chapter 3 of the book. Pero dito ko na siya nilagay. No? Para mas seamless yung transitions natin. Okay, parang may mali yata, no? But we can continue. So an account is continuation to that previous topic, yung account kanina. Maybe depicted. Bakit gumagalaw mag-isa to? Through a T account. So may technical difficulties, no? Wait lang, ha? Ano? Ay, nako. Ano ba yan? Okay, natakot na. May be depicted through a T account. Ayun. Can someone help me? Paano ba tong problem na to? Ayun. Okay. Ayan. Ayaw mag-stop eh. Hindi na gumagalaw. I think, yeah. It's no longer moving. Okay. So an account may be depicted through a T account. No? So ito yung pinaka most obvious depiction of an account. Let's say cash, and then meron kang debit side and credit side. No? We will discuss this debit and credit later. But for now, ito yung pinaka-depiction niya. No? It's depicted through a T account. For now, our focus is the types of major accounts. No? So, sensya na, no? Hindi na nakatiis yung teacher nyo, no? Naglagay na ng meow-meow. So, we have here balance sheet accounts and such as assets, yun nga, nabanggit na natin to, liabilities, and owner's equity. And the income statement accounts, wherein you have here income and expenses. Some books call it revenue, some calls it income. But for now, we will just call it income. Pareho lang naman po siya. May konting additional definition lang po pag revenues. So can someone tell me what is an income? Meron ako natawag dito sa Wheel of Names. Miss Palaganas, what is income? Ano kaya yung income na yan? Siguro ngayon hindi nyo pa na-appreciate, pero pag kayo na nagtatrabaho, you will appreciate income. Okay. Okay, check ko lang yung mga nag-raise ng hand. So may mag-i-steal. Yes, Beltran.
Sir, income is the money received, especially on a regular basis po.
Okay. How about yung ano natin, yung expenses? Can someone tell me? Perez.
Sir, kung saan po natin ginagamit yung perang na re-receive po natin.
Okay. So na-discuss naman na natin yung tatlo, no? Yung assets, liabilities, and owner's equity. So first and foremost, we will proceed first to the assets. Ano po ba yung mga klase ng assets? So you have here two types. You have the current assets. Yes. May question, Ms. Lauron?
Ay, hindi po sir.
Or
Napindot lang po.
please stand up. Okay. Or non-current assets. Can someone tell me, ano ba yung current assets hanggat di pa natin nati-discuss? Ano po ba yung definition ng current assets? Reyes. Ano kaya yan? Alam ko current, yung definition ng current, pero ano po ba yung ibig sabihin ng current assets? Wait lang, bigyan natin ng chance. Reyes 1, Reyes 2, Reyes 3. Okay. Tingnan natin yung nag-raise ng hand. Sino ba yun? Yes, Casanova?
Yung current assets po, ito po yung expected na ma-consume within a year po.
Okay. No? Of course, yung non-current, more than a year. No? Yun na po yun. So, balik lang natin. For the current assets, we have cash, accounts receivable, short-term investments, notes receivable, inventories, and prepayments. For non-current, we have investments, fixed assets, intangibles, or intangible assets, other assets. Oops, mali. Before we proceed, can someone tell me, ano po ba ang ibig sabihin ng cash? No, future FABM graduates or aspiring accountants. De Leon, ano po ba yung ano natin? Ibig sabihin ng cash?
Sir, ito po yung mga pera natin or yung bills, coins, ganyan po.
Okay. Meron bang gustong sumuporta sa kanya o gustong kumontra sa definition ni Reyes, ni De Leon sa cash? Yes, sino ba yan? Wait lang. Yes, Lauron.
Yung cash po is yung medium of exchange na ginagamit natin in order to get a good or magkaroon ng debt or service.
Okay. Okay, so mamaya makikita natin yung definition. You have given your points. How about accounts receivable? Meron na akong naka-ready rito kung sino tatawagin. Pakisabi na lang, sino ba yung nag-message sa akin? Lakap, si Membrano, siya mag-define ng short-term investments. Pakisabi na lang sa kanya. So accounts receivable, sinong gusto mag-define ng accounts receivable? Or sabi nga nila sa accounts receivable. What is accounts receivable? Kaya check natin. May tatlong, may apat na nag-raise ng hand. Okay, Banaag. Ay, sige, Banaag.
A balance due from a debtor on a current account po.
Okay. Let's see. Asa na ba yun? How about yung short-term investments? Meron na bang sagot si ano dyan? Si Membrano?
Meron na po. Meron na po ng
Ano daw yung definition? Sorry.
debt owed to a company by its customer.
Okay. Okay. Medyo narinig ko yung partial naman. So no problem. How about yung ano natin? Inventory. Sino yung nag-raise ng hand? Hindi ko napansin kanina. Meron nag-raise na isa na hindi ko pa natawag. What do you think is the definition of inventory? Okay, aside from the usual two, wala nang gustong magtaas ng kamay? No? Okay. Yes, Perez.
Sir, yung inventory po is doon po nakalist yung mga items or properties din po pwede na meron po ang isang organization or isang company po.
Okay. May gusto bang kumontra doon sa statements ni Ms. Perez? Or okay sagot niya. So I guess Wala, no? No problem. And last but not the least, sa current assets, how about prepayments? What are prepayments? Okay. Sige, marami na tayong mga suki. Sige, buma tayo.
Sir, yung prepayments po, yun po yung mga advance payment na nangyayari po sa business or yung ginagawa po ng business. Like parang early investment po nila bago po makuha yung isang bagay or isang equipment.
Okay, sige. So, discuss muna natin yung current assets. So current assets, as mentioned already, they are expected to be realized within the entity's normal operating cycle. No? So yun yung kulang doon sa hinahanap ko, normal operating cycle. Pero usually, no, it's a span of 12 months. Kasi yung sinasabi kong normal operating cycle, kunwari yung mga alak, no? Wines, hindi naman po within 1 year mababawi nila kagad yan. Diba? Minsan may mga 5 years, 12 years. No? Yung iba pa nga, pag minamalas, 18 years ang operating cycle. But for the sake of FABM1, we will stick to 12 months, whichever is longer daw. So I would like to apologize in advance. Medyo palabok lang ako magbigay ng definition. So cash is a medium of exchange, as already mentioned, that a bank will accept for deposit at face value. Ano po kaya yung ibig sabihin ng face value? Yung nagde-deposit, merong guwapo, no? Or maganda. Hindi po yun. No? So ibig sabihin, it must be recognized at the very least by the government. It includes coins, currency, checks, cheque. So we will discuss that in more detail sa FABM2. Money orders, bank deposits, and drafts that can be used to exchange goods, debt, or services. Kasi ang usual na alam natin, no, sa definition ng cash, yung pera, yung cash, saka yung coins. No? But in accounting parlance, lahat po yan sakop. No? Yung mga na-mention nating items. No? Lahat po yan. No? Si coins, currency, checks, money orders, pati pag-deposit, no? Kasi nagpapasok ka ng pera. And drops. Para dito, no? Hindi ka makakabili kung wala kang cash. Regardless kung plastic or paper money yan, no? Hindi ka rin makakapagbayad ng utang kung hindi dahil sa cash. No? Or hindi ka makakapag-avail ng services kung wala kang cash. Hindi kayo makakapagbayad ng tuition fee sa Pasig Catholic College without any form of cash. No? That is the definition of cash. Accounts receivable, on the other hand, is the balance of money due to a firm for goods or services delivered. No? Of course, the services must be delivered or used, but not yet paid. No? Palitan lang natin. Not yet paid. Hindi pa po nababayaran. No? So, yung kaninang scenario dun sa pizza is yung on account. No? By customers. They arise when an entity sells its goods or services on account. So, yan po yun. No? Mali. Sabi nga, on account or on credit. So, hindi siya katulad nung, eto, no, medyo nag-advance lang ng konti. Offers less security than a promissory note. No? So, let's say, nagbayad si, sino ba estudyante to? Kunwari, si si Sapno, no, nagbayad siya ng utang. Later pa. No? Nakuha niya na yung service pero hindi niya binayaran agad. Sapno will pay that amount maybe the next month. Yun po yung accounts receivable. Next, cash equivalents. No? Akala ko ba, sir, cash na yun, yung mga nabanggit mo kanina. No? But you still have the cash equivalents. So, contains the entity's investments. No? Ito rin po yung tinatawag nating short-term investments. No? cash equivalents. In low risk, that's the keyword, no? Low risk, highly liquid assets, no? Such as favorite, no? Bonds and stocks. Yung mga nag-i-invest dyan madalas, which are expected to be liquidated in less than a year. No? Basta within a year, makukuha mo yung mga cash equivalents mo, then that is short current assets. No? Yun lang po. Notes receivable. Hindi kaya nabanggit ito. Okay? So ano naman po yung notes receivable? Ito po yung alam nating lahat. No? Kahit hindi po tayo nag-aaral ng FABM subjects. No? They are known as promissory notes. No? Let's say ako meron akong utang kay Lakap. No? No? O, kahit Tagalog na lang sa barangay. Ako si John Michael Versosa ay nangangakong magbabayad ng ganitong utang, blah, 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 blah. No? So it is a pledge in written format. No? Meron silang katibayan, evidence, na nagsulat ka, nangako ka. No? Hence, it is more formal than accounts receivable. Kasi sa accounts receivable, basta bayaran more on verbal. No? I will pay that within 30 days, within 15 days. Pero walang kasulatan. No? So minsan dyan po tayo nagkakaroon ng problem. Lalo na kung ayaw magbayad, no? Katulad niyan, sakit natin mga Pilipino, no? Mangungutang ka, walang promissory note. No? Wala kayong pinagkasunduang kontrata na ako, magbabayad ako sa aking beshi o sa aking brad within 1 month. Kasi nagtiwala po tayo. So, ikaw na yung tumulong, ikaw pa yung napasama. Back to the topic. So, it's more formal. It also represents promises. No? So, election na naman, no? Promises. It represents promises to the entity to receive a fixed amount of money on a certain date. No? Magbabayad ako ng 10,000 sa katapusan ng buwan. No? Or if you want it to be more formal sa English, I will be paying the amount of 10,000 pesos at the end of the month of November. No? On a certain date. And inventories and unused supplies. Again, as mentioned already, it is an array of goods. Ibig sabihin, ito yung mga items mo. No? Hindi po array, no? Array. Array of goods available for sale to customers. So let's say you have a bookstore. Ano ba yung mga inventory mo dyan? No? Libro, mga folders, ballpens, no? Ganun po. For sale to customers. So that's another keyword, no? For sale. But sa service, no, they're also using the term inventory. However, they are not selling it to customers. However, instead, they are using it to provide the service to customers. Kunwari, si Perez, no? Magpapamassage siya. Yung massage parlor, let's say si Wencha yan or si, ano yun? Kalimutan ko tuloy yung sa, what Thai ba yun, no? Meron magmamasahe. Yung massage oils, yun po yung inventory nila na gagamitin nila to provide the service. Ay, mali ng pindot. No? The aggregates of such items are either, masakit lang sa mata, held for sale in the ordinary course of business. Binebenta mo siya talaga. No? In process of production for each sale. Mga work in progress. No? And soon to be consumed in the production of goods. Yun nga po yung pangatlo. That will be available for sale. And last but not the least, prepaid expenses. They are amounts simply paid in advance for goods or services anticipated to be received by the entity in the future. No? Ano kaya magandang example ng prepaid expenses? So nung wala pa kayo, no? Nung kami-kami pa lang, pag magbibili kami ng internet card, binayaran na namin yung internet. No? Hindi siya katulad ngayon na postpaid eh. At the end of the month, you will pay. In the past, you will have to pay first the load of the internet. Load ng cellphone is a prepaid expense. Rent is an example of prepaid expense. So these prepaid items represent future economic benefits. So asset muna siya. No? Until the time starts, these start to contribute to the earning process. No? Pag napapakinabangan mo na siya as an asset, nagiging expenses na po siya. As mentioned a while ago, non-current assets naman are long-term investments. No? Hindi siya beyond the accounting year, no? Beyond 12 months. Okay. Can someone define what is an investment? Diba hindi ko natawag? Check na ako. Hindi pa ako natawag. Wait lang ha. Gonzales, what is an investment? Bibili ako ng sing-sing para sa aking jowa. It is an investment. Sample lang yan. Or mag-aaral ako sa isang magandang eskwelahan. I will be studying in a great university. It will be my investment. Wala. Check ko nga.
Sir,
Yes.
it is essentially an asset that is created with the intention of allowing money to grow pa.
Okay. Huh? Suspense. Okay. Hindi ka na magtawag ng iba. Okay. So these are securities. No? Okay din yung sinabi ni Ms. Gonzales. These are securities of a company owned by another. No? Pwede kang mag-invest sa other company. No? Or sa personal mo, kunwari gusto mo mag-invest sa Bitcoin. Gusto mo mag-invest sa stock market. No? Either to control the other company or in anticipation of earning a long-term return from the investment. Kaya po nasabi ko na si Pumatayo, he's planning to study in Harvard. That will be an educational investment. Siguro mahal nga yung tuition sa Harvard, but imagine if he finishes that degree, no? Or Oxford na lang sabihin natin. Pag natapos niya yung Oxford degree niya, he will be, of course, recognized all over the world, not just in the Philippines. Yun po ang definition. Fixed assets. What are fixed assets? Ano kaya yung fixed assets? Sige na nga, kanina pa nagre-raise ng hand, pagbigyan natin ng binibini. Miss Lauron.
Sir, yung fixed assets po is yung most tangible and longest serving na assets ng isang company.
Yes, yan yung, I think yan yung definition ng book, no? Correct. It's the longest serving, no? Siya po talaga yung may pinakamahabang buhay. Siguro wala na tayo dito sa mundong ibabaw, nandito pa rin yung lupa, no? Wala pa tayo sa mundo, nandito na yung lupa. Wala na tayo sa mundo, nandito pa rin yung lupa. No? That's the definition of fixed asset. And it's not just lupa per se, no? Okay. Kita natin definition. The most tangible, no? Correct, no? Longest serving assets a company can have. They are not expected to not be converted into cash immediately. No? Let's say meron kang business, manufacturing business, you have a lot, no? Meron kang lote na 20 hectares. Hindi naman lahat ng tao kaya bumili instantly ng 20 hectares na lupa. Maglalako ka sa kalsada, ay bili na kayo ng lupa dyan, 20 hectares, ganito lang yung presyo. Nobody can afford that. And even the rich people, mag-iisip muna yan. No? It takes time to sell these, no? To liquidate, and are acquired in order to produce goods or services that will generate future cash flows. That lot worth 20 with an area of 20 hectares, most likely you will use it either as a storage facility or as a factory or manufacturing facility. No? Tayo gumana. Okay. So they are not usually consumable. No? Hindi agad-agad mabebenta. And are only used through utilization. Ginagamit mo. No? Yun po yung Tagalog ng utilization. Correct me if I'm wrong. they all gradually undergo depreciation. No? It is a type of expense with the passage of time except land. No? Bakit lahat nagde-depreciate? No? Bakit ang kotse ng family nagde-depreciate? Bakit ang factory nagde-depreciate pero si lupa, no? Sana all nag-appreciate. Can someone tell me, bakit po sila lang ang exception? Patapos na tayo, no? Matatapos natin buong lesson. Bakit nag-appreciate ang lupa? Just a wild guess, no? Hindi naman kailangan correct. Yes, Mr. Lim.
Sir, unlike po nung mga, yung sinabi nyo nga po na yung kotse, yun yung mga bagay po or yung mga assets na po na yun, naluluma po sila or nagiging nagkakaroon ng mga misfunctions or nagkakasira. Unlike po sa land, once na, for example, may tinayo na isang establishment dito and then may open lupa, maraming possible opportunities na open para sa business, which is napakagandang opportunity na i-take ng business since pwede silang mas mag-profit doon or mas mag-benefit.
Correct, no? And also another question, no? Another sample scenario. I'm not sure kung kailan si Ondoy. I think it's 2009. No? At that time, I was still a graduating student. Lahat, yung buong Pasig, yung Marikina, no? Talagang pinalubog ni Ondoy. Bumaba yung presyo. Diba? Bumaba yung presyo kasi some people, no, yung isa sa mga classmates ko, nakatira siya sa Pasig. Sabi niya, ayoko na rito sa Pasig. So, they moved to Mandaluyong. No? Pero years later, nag-appreciate ulit yung lupa nila. No? I think it's more than double the amount per square meter. Kung let's say, nung umalis sila ng Ondoy, 10,000 per square meter lang po yung lupa. Nag-Ondoy, bumagsak, naging 5,000, kunwari. No, 10 years later, noong 2019, naging 20,000 na. Unti-unti. It's a temporary dip. Pero, tataas pa rin po eh. Because, another subject na to, no? Due to the demand of that asset. No? Dumadami ang tao, pero ang asset, fix nga eh. Diba? They're calling it fixed. No? Especially yung land, fix po. Hindi naman po basta-basta malaking lupa with the exception of that Dolomite and yung MOA. Diba? Yung Palm Jumeirah sa Dubai. No? Yun lang po. No? But that's another topic. Intangible. No? Ano naman po kayo intangible assets? 30 minutes pa tayo bago mag-break. No? Yeah, check ko kung sino yung nag-raise. Okay. Yes, Mr. Jeronimo.
Intangible assets po are assets na are not physical in nature po.
Okay. Think about it. Meron tayong cellphone. No? Kung may cellphone ako. Mahirap lang ako, hindi ako naka-iPhone. Yung cellphone is an asset. Pero yung mga programs, yung mga apps, yung Mobile Legends natin, Ninyo pala, sorry. Yung YouTube channel, they're all intangible. No? Hindi mo naman nahawakan si YouTube eh. Hindi mo naman mahawakan itong MS Teams natin, but you can use it. Diba? Or yung Facebook natin, it's also considered as an intangible asset. In a nutshell, even the Microsoft Office that we're using every day of our lives ay isang intangible asset. They are identifiable, non-monetary, and non-physical things. Controlled by the business and yet are similarly realizable over long periods of time. Being intangible, their value and assets are harder to measure and evaluate compared to tangible assets. And they are also subject to some form of depreciation. Pero ang tawag sa kanya is amortization. So pag yellow po yung text natin, wala po siya sa book. Pero ano lang yan, bonus na lang yan. Amortization po. Hindi depreciation yung tawag. And other assets, ako na lang to. Items that do not fall. No? Wala po siya doon sa category nung tatlo. That do not fall into any of the accounts previously mentioned. Pag hindi mo maintindihan kung ano ba to, fixed ba to, investments ba to, or intangible, doon mo siya ilagay sa other assets. So as much as possible, it's not advised to put this account. No? Hanggat maaari, wag po. No? Pag wala ka na talagang choice, saka mo lang i-utilize si other assets. No? Hanggat maaari, yung gagamitin. Okay. Liabilities. Again, we have current and non-current liabilities. So you have accounts payable, notes payable, accrued liabilities, current portion of long-term debts, unearned revenues, and other payables. No? And ano po kaya ang ibig sabihin ng accounts payable? No? I know it's a long lesson. No? Malapit na tayo mag-break ulit. What is accounts payable? Yung tatlong active, no? Teka, magtatawag muna ako dito. Maka hindi gumagalaw-galaw yung iba. Or natawag ko na lahat. How about marasigan? Ano kaya yung accounts payable?
Amount due po that has not been paid.
Okay. Sige, no? We'll see. No? I think it's correct. Malyari, what is notes payable? Para naman makano kayo, no? I mean, okay lang naman ako magtawag doon sa lagi nagre-raise ng hand, pero I have to call the others. No? Malyari? Sarap matulog kasi ganitong oras. I can't blame you. No? Kahit ako, tulog ako ganitong oras. Malyari, wala, no? Okay, sige, Santos.
Para rin po siyang accounts payable, pero yung unique po sa kanya is ano po, nasa written format po siya, basically yung parang promissory notes po.
Kabaliktaran naman. No? Yeah. Okay. How about mamaya na yung bonds payable na yan. How about yung accrued liabilities? Medyo malalim-lalim na tong accrued liabilities. Pero doon sa mga kasagot, then that's great. No? Sino kaya yun? Yes, Talisik?
Ano po yung accrued liability? Expense incurred but not yet paid.
Sorry, Talisik, medyo choppy lang. Paulit lang po.
Ano po? An expense incurred but not yet paid. Or by a business.
Expense not yet earned. No? Yeah. Current portion of long-term debt. So I guess may idea naman na tayo dyan. So skip na natin yan. And unearned revenues. Ano kaya yung unearned revenues na yan? I think I've called everyone. Check ko nga. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. I already called 24. No? Beltran, what is unearned revenue?
Sir, yung income po na hindi pa po pwedeng makuha.
Yung pinakamadaling definition. No? Yes, correct. No? It's a very simple definition. Hindi mo pa siya nakukuha. No? Kinita mo na pero hindi mo pa siya nakukuha. Ganyan. Okay. And other payables. Let's see yung other payables later. For non-current, you have bonds payable, long-term notes payable, mortgage payable. Ito yung mortgage payable, I think wala siya sa book, but discuss natin later. Yun lang. So current muna tayo. They're expected to be settled within 12 months pa rin. No? katulad ni current assets. Paying out does not necessarily mean payment through cash, no? But can also include conversion and or refinancing. Wala akong pera, kunwari. Pero meron akong kotse na bigla na lang sumulpot, no, paggising ko. I can use that to pay my debts. Basta nakapangalan sa akin. No? But usually, it must be paid through cash. Baka mamaya, meron dyan mga nagtatrabaho sa formally ang parents, huwag niyo ako sumbong. So, accounts payable, as already mentioned, they are amounts due to vendors or suppliers arising from their furnishing goods or services to the entity for which they have not yet been paid. Ibig sabihin, si entity or si business ang may atraso or may utang, no? sa kanyang mga suppliers. They haven't paid. The company has yet to pay them. Another definition are debts that must be paid off within a given period to avoid default. Usually, these claims are unsecured. No? Because it's accounts payable only, there's a chance that it might not be paid sooner or later.
Ano?
Okay, may nagtanong.
Kung nga marinig.
Naka-on yung mic mo, Mr. Talisik. Okay. May problems ba yung mic? Just to be sure lang. Can you hear me? Sambuca?
Sir, wala naman po, sir, problem.
Okay. So, iba yung kausap mo. Okay, no problem. Good. Usually, these claims are unsecured. No? So, pwede kong takasan yung supplier ko, hindi na ako magbabayad. No? And is particularly helpful in the entity's cash management, as it can help lessen the pressure of cash outflow. Huwag na nating i-focus yan pang college na yan. So, kahit ito muna una. Notes payable. So, baliktad naman. Ikaw naman yung gagawa ngayon ng promissory note. Ikaw yung may atraso. You are the one with liabilities. So, they are written promises owed by the entity to the financial institution to pay a certain amount in a future determinable time. Ako, let's say, Casanova Company will pay Bogay Company, this Bogay Bank, this certain amount of money at the end of the month, blah, blah, blah. Yun naman po ang notes payable. Okay. So, pwede mo siyang bayaran. Let's say, ang pinag-usapan mo, every month ang bayad ko, 1,000 ng 1,000. No? Pag binayaran mo siya ng lump sum or buo, you can get a discount. 3,000. Sayang din yung 1,000 pesos discount. Let's take a group pick later, no? After the tao dito, yung health break natin ng 3:30. Accrued liabilities, as mentioned already, represent amounts that have been incurred by an entity as of the end of an accounting period, but the amounts have not yet been paid. No? So, naipon na siya. No? Incurred. No? Have not yet been paid or recorded. Hindi pa siya nare-record sa GL. So, later na si GL or General Ledger. And current portion of long-term debts they represent the part of a long term. No? Yun nga yun. Partially. Let's say ang utang mo is 10 years to pay. Yung 1 year, yung first year, yun po yung current portion. It is reported separately from non-current portion. No? Kasi ang ating income statement, no? Or sorry, yung ating balance sheet, merong current and non-current portion. Kaya po, pinag-ihiwalay natin. Unearned revenues, again, nabanggit na. Income that is not earned, meaning it is derived from another source such as inheritance or passive. Yeah. No? Hindi mo pa siya nakukuha. Such as inheritance or passive investments that earn interest or dividends. And other payables. Parang other assets lang si other payables. Medyo nagkahang, no? So include those which are due from the entity outside the normal course of business as long as they are payable within the year. Pero again, wala rin siya dun sa category ng mga previously mentioned na current liabilities. So again, as much as possible, hanggat maaari, wala po tayong other payables. Non-current liabilities. Ano naman po kaya to, no? Yun nga. They are the residual form. No? Ibig sabihin, pag more than 1 year, by strict definition, these are liabilities which the entity expects to settle after more than a year. No? Beyond that, it's non-current. Or have the legal or contractual capacity to defer payment accordingly. Usually, ang mga business naman, they can pay any amount, kahit bilyones pa yan. But, syempre, pwede naman nilang i-distribute yan eh. No? 15 years to pay, 20 years to pay. Can someone tell me what is the meaning of bonds payable? Medyo mahirap doon. So I understand naman kung hindi nga masagutan tong bonds payable na to. Okay. So they are the largest sources of funding. Next to owner's capital. It is the largest source of funding. Dinaig pa yung owner's capital. Sorry, second siya, second. It's a degree even more formal than notes payable. No? So usually sa mga ano to, no, sa mga investors binibigay ito. It's a degree even more formal than notes payable and can be open to multiple lenders. And are usually, no, ito yung mga usual na nag-i-issue. Government, banks, and other corporations. No? Yung mga nangangailangan. A good example of this is yung Double Dragon. If you do not know Double Dragon, then you must know at least Inch of Sia. If you do not know Inch of Sia, then you must at least know Mang Inasal. Sino ba dito ang hindi pa kumakain sa Mang Inasal? Taas ang kamay. So I'm sure lahat naman po tayo nakakain na at least once man lang sa Mang Inasal. So nag-i-issue siya ng mga bonds. No? Pautangin niyo ako. I will pay you back someday. Not a bad offer. So long-term notes payable, on the other hand, it's a debt instrument that is repayable over a longer time period. Mas matagal lang siya. Imbis na 1 year lang siya, 3 years, 5 years, no? Basta beyond 1 year. Yun lang po. And there are two broad types. The interest-bearing and the zero interest-bearing. Medyo pang-college yung dating nitong dalawa. No? But usually, ang tinatakel is interest-bearing. No? Rather the... Actually, ito yung po. Hindi kita yung kulay. Balikan natin. Usually, interest-bearing ang focus. And next is the mortgage payable. So yung mortgage payable, more on sa mga kalupaan to, no, or properties. The liability of a property owner to pay a loan. No? So let's say if your parents bought a condo, condominium unit, or a townhouse, no, or even a housing loan. No? Yun po yung mortgage payable. Or sa mga businesses naman, they decided to purchase an office space. Yan. And with that, you have the expanded accounting equation naman. Rather than just the accounting equation itself. Kita pa siya. Medyo maliit yata yung ano, no? Pero I think you can see naman. So, assets equals liability plus equity accounts na siya. However, yung owner's equity is further subdivided into capital, withdrawal, revenues, and expenses. So, yun po yung formula natin. Assets equals L plus E plus C. L plus C minus W or D plus R minus E. Nalilitan ako sa pot dito. I think that's good enough. Yeah. So discuss naman natin bago tayo mag-break. Additional accounting elements or values. Throwing revenues and expenses. Lapit-lapit na tayo. Mag-break. Discuss na muna natin hanggang expenses. So drawing. What is the meaning of drawing or withdrawal? Sige, free for all na. Pwede na kayong mag-ano. What is the meaning of drawing or withdrawals? Wait lang ha. Check natin sino yung nagtaas. Yes, buma tayo.
Ito po sir yung pag-deduct natin sa sarili po nating capital for our personal uses po.
Okay. So drawing is, yun nga, no? Nag-withdraw yung may-ari or partners. But in this case, FABM1 simplified accounting is just owner. No? Which is not considered as a reduction of capital but an advanced distribution of profits. Ibig sabihin, hindi nabawasan yung puhunan mo. Kung hindi, nag-ano ka lang, no? Ang tawag doon? Nag-advance ka lang ng kita. Forgot the Tagalog. Mamaya na yung mga yan. Okay? Revenues. Mga bonus points na lang to. May nagtaas na ng kamay. Wait lang ha. Yes, Ikana?
Ito po yung total amount of income generated by the sale of goods and services related to the primary operations of the business.
Okay. So our increase in economic benefits during the accounting period. So nag-increase yung asset or nag-decrease yung liabilities mo. No, yun po yung revenue. No? Which result in increases in equity, excluding those relating to investments by the business owner. So pang ano na lang yan, pang college level na lang yung dilaw. Okay? And last but not the least, expenses. Kahit sino kaya sagutin ng expenses. Yes, Ms. Perez.
Ano po, these are the decreases in economic benefits during the accounting period po.
Okay. Sige, tawag po ako ulit ng isa para lang madagdagan yung mga may bonus. Yes, Casanova.
An expense is the cost of operation that a company incurs and generate revenue po.
Okay. Okay. Tignan nga natin. Our decreases, no, in economic benefits. Nabawasan ka naman, no? Baliktad lang ni revenue during the accounting period in the form of nabawasan yung assets mo, no? Or increases in liabilities. Dumami yung kailangan mong bayaran, no? That will result in decrease in equity. No? So, yun yung pwedeng yung tandaan. Pag expenses, decrease in equity. Pag revenues, increase in equity. No? Again, pang-college na yung dilaw. No? And meron pa tayong 6 minutes. Chart of accounts. Can someone tell me what is a chart of accounts? Sige, tawagin naman natin si Cruz. Kanina hindi ko natawag eh. Cruz.
Sa'yo po nakamit pala. An index of all the financial accounts in the general ledger of a company.
Okay, si Bogay, di ko pa ba natatawag, Miss Bogay?
Lalaki pa ako, sir. Natawag na po kanina, pero kanina.
Sige, ano yung chart of accounts?
Ako po. List of financial accounts set up usually by the accountant.
Okay. So, tingnan natin definition dito. Mahaba yung definition ko, no? Kompleto. So, yun nga. Ito yung pinaka-simple na definition. It's a list of account titles to be used in recording process of a general ledger. Again, skip natin si general ledger for next topic. Ayan, no? Medyo masakit sa ulo. No? It's an organizational tool. So, for those who have, of course, you already finished organizational management. No? It's one of the tools of an organization which provides a digestible breakdown. Ibig sabihin, madaling intindihin. No? All the financial transactions that a company conducted, lahat po ng mga transactions na ginawa, na isagawa, nangyari sa isang organisasyon, no? Conducted during a specific accounting period, broken down into subcategories. Okay. Okay. The accounts are normally listed in the order in which they appear in the financial statements. Yung nadi-disconnect, no, you can, ano naman? Okay. So, another mahaba. No? While chart of accounts, they vary from one business to another. Iba naman po kasi ang chart of accounts, let's say, ni Jollibee versus a chart of accounts of, ano ba tawag dito? Kunwari, bangko na lang, no? Or a bank. The beginning numbers for assets, liabilities, owner's equity, revenues, and expenses are standard. Merong standard na sinusundan. Iba-iba lang po yung execution because, as previously stated, accounting is an art. For a service business. Some account numbers are much longer than 3 digits. But usually, 3 digits is the standard. In any case, use the exact account titles listed in the company's chart of accounts. So kung meron ng given chart of accounts sa isang company, try to follow that. No? Huwag po tayong gagawa ng sarili nating rules. Okay, so pakita ko na lang to, no? In merchandising kasi advanced topic. So now, no? Meron na pong mga accounting programs such as QuickBooks and Page 3. There is a standard, no? Meron ng default chart of account setup. Tapos ikaw na lang mag-edit for many different types of businesses. And for the assigned number of chart of accounts, yan po ang designation ng numbers. So 101 to 199, you have asset. 201 to 299, liability. 301 to 399, equity. 401 to 499 is revenue. And for expense, as you can see, medyo malaki, no? 501 to 699. Because sometimes, as mentioned here previously, ayan, no? For merchandising companies, 500s are reserved for cost of goods sold. Pero kung service naman tayo, which is our focus for now, 500s is an expense account. But sa merchandise, it will be 600s. Okay, we still have 2 minutes. For our sample chart of accounts of a service business, ito yung isa sa mga example. I'm not sure kung kita, no? Medyo masakit sa mata. Yan, no? So you have the assets, liabilities, equity, revenues, and expenses. Another version is, okay. You may also refer to page 20 of our book, Simplified Accounting for Sole Proprietorships. Yeah, no? And with that, check yung book, no? We will have our second health break.